What would you do if the love of your life came to spend the night at your house and didn't wake up? Andrew found himself in such situation. Felt like a dream, or was it a prank? What should he do? Who should he call? Like and subscribe as we dive into this story. My name is Andrew. Sometimes, when I look back, I wonder how a poor boy like me ever became close to someone like Rose. We met back in secondary school, during one of those morning assemblies when the principal was shouting about lateness. She was standing in the front row, her uniform neat and crisp, while I stood behind, half asleep and worried about how I'd get money for lunch. Rose came from a wealthy home. Everyone knew it. Her father was a well-known businessman who drove her to school in a black SUV, and her mother always sent lunch in shiny flasks. I, on the other hand, came from the part of town where the streetlights barely worked and neighbors borrowed salt from one another every evening. My mother sold fruits by the roadside, and my father was a carpenter with shaky health. We lived worlds apart, yet somehow, Rose noticed me. It all started one day after school when she saw me trying to patch my torn school bag with needle and thread under a mango tree. "Hey, why don't you just get a new one?" she asked, her voice soft and curious. I laughed awkwardly. If I had money for that, I wouldn't be sitting here sewing. She smiled, a little guilty. "Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Here, I have an extra one at home. I'll bring it tomorrow." I tried to say no, but she was stubborn. And true to her word, the next day, she brought a new school bag, neatly wrapped. That simple act started our friendship. We began talking every day, during break, after school, even when her friends teased her for hanging around the poor boy from the slums. Over time, friendship turned into something deeper. We'd walk home together sometimes, laughing about our teachers or talking about our dreams. I wanted to become a computer programmer, to build softwares that would make life easier for people. She wanted to be a banker, but her parents didn't like me. One evening, I overheard part of their conversation when I went to drop off her notebook. Her father's voice was firm, almost angry. "Rose, I've warned you before. That boy has nothing to offer you. You'll ruin your future because of some schoolyard crush." "Daddy, he's not like that," Rose protested, her voice shaking. "Andrew is kind, smart, and hardworking." Her mother added coldly, "Better listen to your father, Rose. That boy will drag you down." I stood by the gate, my heart sinking, knowing I wasn't supposed to hear those words. But despite everything, she didn't stop talking to me. The next morning, she walked into class and sat beside me like nothing had happened. "Don't mind them," she whispered. "I know who you are, Andrew. I believe in you." From that moment, I realized Rose wasn't just different, she was brave. And even though the world saw me as a poor boy unworthy of her love, she saw something else. Something worth fighting for. By the time we sat for our WAEC exams, Rose and I had become inseparable. We studied together under the mango tree behind the school library. I still remember the way she always came prepared, neat notes, colorful pens, and that calm confidence that came from knowing she had everything she needed. I, on the other hand, had to borrow most of my textbooks. My old science books were outdated and torn, and my parents could barely afford new ones. One afternoon, as I flipped through my worn-out chemistry textbook, Rose leaned closer and whispered, "You're missing half the topics in organic chemistry. How will you revise for the exam like this?" I gave a tired smile. "I'll manage. I'll try to copy some notes before the exam." She frowned. "Nonsense. My brother has those books. He doesn't even use them anymore." "Your brother? The one in the university?" She nodded quickly. "Don't worry, I'll take them for you. Just promise you'll return them before he notices." True to her word, she showed up the next morning with a bag full of heavy textbooks. "Rose, you actually took them?" I asked, surprised. She grinned. "Borrowed without asking. There's a difference." We laughed, but deep down, I was touched. Those books became my lifeline. Every evening, I studied by the dim light of a lantern while my parents slept, determined not to let her down. When WAC came, we both sat side by side in the same hall, scribbling answers furiously. After the exams, everything began to change. Rose's father had already planned her future. Within a few weeks, she was admitted into a prestigious private university to study banking and finance. I was happy for her, but I couldn't ignore the ache in my chest. While she talked about orientation week and new hostel rooms, I was struggling to raise money for JAM registration. I didn't want to tell her at first, but she noticed. "Andrew, what's wrong?" she asked one evening over the phone. I hesitated. "I haven't registered for JAM yet. Things are tough at home. I'll probably wait till next year." There was a pause, then her voice softened. "No. You'll register this year. I'll send you some money tomorrow." "Rose, you don't have to, please," she interrupted. "Don't argue. Let me do this for you." She sent the money, and I registered. I studied hard, wrote the exam, and passed well. But admission never came. No one to help. No one to pull strings. I watched as people with lower scores got in through connections. I was crushed. When Rose heard, she tried to comfort me. "Don't give up, Andrew," she said. "You'll make it next year. I'll help you." And she did. She sent me money again the following year, even though she was already deep into her second semester. I wrote JAM the second time and got admission into a public university to study computer science. It felt like my whole life was finally taking shape. Rose and I kept in touch at first, late-night calls, funny text messages, and long chats about her life on campus. She'd tell me about her accounting lectures, her stylish hostel mates, and how she missed our quiet study sessions. But then, things changed. In my second semester, I met Diana. She was beautiful, confident, and outspoken. She wore perfume that lingered in the air and always had a way of making me laugh. Slowly, I found myself drifting. I started replying to Rose's messages late, ignoring her calls, and making excuses. One evening, she called. I could hear the hurt in her voice. "Andrew, what's going on? You don't talk to me anymore. Did I do something wrong?" I swallowed hard. "It's not that, Rose. I think we should stop this. You're busy with your life, I'm busy with mine." She was silent for a moment, then I heard her sniffle. "Andrew, please don't do this. If I've wronged you, tell me. I'll fix it." But my heart was made up. "It's not you. I just need to focus on other things." I hung up. That was the last time we truly spoke. She kept calling and calling, but I blocked her number. Months later, my life began to crumble. I found out Diana was secretly dating a cultist, something I had no idea about. When he discovered we'd been seeing each other, everything turned dark. I started getting strange warnings. One evening, as I walked back from night class, a group of guys emerged from the shadows with machetes and axes. I ran like my life depended on it, because it did. They chased me across the campus until I jumped a fence and hid inside a drainage tunnel, trembling and breathless. That night, I realized how close I'd come to dying. The next day, I ended things with Diana immediately. In the weeks that followed, guilt ate me alive. Rose had always been good to me, loyal, patient, kind, and I'd thrown it all away. I tried calling her, texting her, even writing long messages of apology, but she never replied. Word reached me later that she had moved on. From that moment, I carried a quiet regret everywhere I went. Life at school was not easy. My parents did what they could, but their money was never enough. I did menial jobs, washing cars, tutoring students, even working as a waiter in a small restaurant. Still, I held on. I wanted to make Rose proud, even if she'd never see me the same way again. Years later, I graduated and got posted to Lagos for my NYSC. I was assigned to a big company, one of those glass tower offices I used to dream of working in. Every morning, I'd put on my khaki uniform, take a deep breath, and remind myself how far I'd come. After my NYSC year in Lagos, life began to change in ways I never imagined. The company where I had served, a reputable tech firm that handled software for big corporations, decided to retain me. I could hardly believe it when my supervisor called me into his glass office one Monday morning. "Andrew," he said, smiling proudly, "you've done a fantastic job during your service year. We'd like to offer you a full-time position as a junior developer. Congratulations." For a moment, I just stood there, speechless. My throat tightened as I mumbled, "Thank you, sir, thank you so much." That job was the beginning of a new chapter in my life. The pay wasn't huge at first, but it was far more than anything my parents had ever earned. I worked day and night, learning, coding, and pushing myself harder than ever. Within 2 years, I had risen through the ranks, promoted twice, given bonuses, and finally trusted with big client projects. By the 3rd year, I had saved enough to move my family out of the small, leaking house in Ajagun. I rented a decent 2-bedroom apartment for them in a quiet area of Lagos. The look on my mother's face when she walked into the new apartment brought tears to my eyes. "Andrew," she said, running her hands across the freshly painted walls, "you've made me proud, my son." Her words hit me deep. Everything I'd worked for, every sleepless night, every sacrifice suddenly felt worth it. 3 years into my job, I got a major assignment. A leading commercial bank's mobile app had crashed, locking thousands of customers out of their accounts. The bank's management was in panic, and my company was called in to fix it. My boss selected me to lead the technical team. It felt like a career-defining opportunity. I dressed in my best suit that morning, neatly ironed white shirt, black tie, and polished shoes. When we arrived at the bank's headquarters, the receptionist directed us to the conference room, saying, "The branch manager will join you shortly." A few minutes later, I heard the sound of heels clicking against the tiled floor. I turned around casually and froze. It was her. Rose. Time seemed to pause. She looked even more beautiful than I remembered, elegant in her fitted navy blue suit, her hair perfectly styled, her aura commanding yet soft. Her ID card hung around her neck with the words branch manager. For a moment, she didn't see me. But when her eyes finally met mine, she stopped mid-step. Shock flashed across her face. "Andrew," she whispered, disbelief in her tone. My heart thudded in my chest. "Rose," I said softly, almost breathless. Silence hung between us for a few seconds before she composed herself and said, "We'll proceed with the briefing. Please, sit." Her voice was professional, guarded. Throughout the meeting, she avoided eye contact. She spoke only about work, concise, direct, emotionless. But I could feel the tension between us, heavy and unspoken. When the meeting ended, she stood up quickly and turned to leave. I couldn't let her go. "Rose, please wait," I called, standing from my chair. She paused but didn't turn around. "Andrew, there's nothing to talk about. It's been years. Please," I said again, my voice trembling. "I know I hurt you. I was foolish. But please, give me a chance to say I'm sorry." She tried to walk away, but I stepped forward and dropped to my knees right there in the hallway. People passing by stared, but I didn't care. "Rose, please," I said, my voice breaking. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I ruined it, and I've regretted it every single day. Please, just let me talk to you." Her lips trembled. "Andrew, get up. People are watching." "I don't care," I said firmly. "You deserve this apology." She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening. "Stand up, please," she whispered. "You don't have to do this." Slowly, I stood. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The air between us was thick with emotions, pain, memories, unfinished words. Finally, she sighed. "Give me your phone." I handed it to her. She typed in her number, paused, then handed it back. "Call me later," she said softly, turning to leave. That evening, I called her. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was calm. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again." "Neither did I admitted. "But maybe, it's fate." She chuckled faintly. "You still talk like a dreamer, Andrew." "Maybe because you taught me how to dream," I said quietly. There was silence, the kind that carries 1,000 unspoken feelings. After that day at the bank, Rose and I started talking again, slowly at first, cautiously, as though afraid one wrong word would shatter the fragile bridge we were rebuilding. But the more we talked, the more we fell into that old rhythm that once bound us together. She laughed freely again, and I found myself smiling like a teenager each time my phone buzzed with her name. One Saturday evening, after weeks of constant calls, I finally asked her out properly. We met at a quiet restaurant by the lagoon, the soft lights reflecting on the water as we talked for hours. By the end of the night, it felt like we'd picked up right where we left off years ago. "Andrew," she said, looking at me with that warm smile I remembered so well, "I'm proud of you. You've become everything you once dreamed of." I chuckled, staring into her eyes. "And you're still the reason I ever believed I could." From that night, we became inseparable. We went on dinner dates, attended tech events together, and sometimes just stayed in, watching movies and eating noodles. For the first time in a long while, I felt complete again. But deep inside, a shadow of insecurity always followed me. Rose was beautiful, confident, and successful, a bank manager in her late 20s, admired and respected. I often noticed the way men looked at her when we went out, wealthy businessmen, politicians, and clients who treated her with a little too much attention. One evening, as we sat in her car, I sighed and said, "Sometimes I wonder why you're still with me, Rose. You could have anyone, men with money, cars, houses." She frowned, turning toward me. "Andrew, don't say that. You know I've never cared about those things. But you're surrounded by them," I said quietly. "What if one day," she placed a finger on my lips. "Stop it. I turned them all down because none of them are you. I've loved you since we were teenagers, Andrew. That hasn't changed." Her words hit me deeply, melting the doubt in my chest. But her parents saw things differently. One evening, Rose called me, her voice trembling. "My parents want me to marry their friend's son," she said. "He just came back from Texas. They say it's time I settle down." My heart sank. "And what did you say?" "I told them no," she said firmly. "They got angry, especially my dad. He said I'm being ungrateful after all they've done for me." "That's serious, Rose. Maybe we should give them some time," I said gently. "I'm not marrying anyone I don't love," she replied. "They'll come around eventually." But they didn't. For weeks, she barely spoke to her parents. The pressure at home was too much, so she started spending most weekends at my apartment, saying it helped her relax. That Friday, she arrived as usual, smiling brightly as she placed her overnight bag on my couch. "I needed this," she sighed. "Work's been crazy, and my mom won't stop calling about that man from Texas." I laughed. "Then this weekend, you'll do nothing but rest." We cooked together that night, jollof rice and grilled chicken. After eating, we played a few rounds of Ludo and argued over who cheated. Later, we curled up on the couch, gisting and teasing each other until her laughter filled the room like music. By midnight, she grew sleepy. "Babe, I'll sleep a bit," she said, yawning as she climbed onto my bed. "Don't stay up too long with that laptop." I smiled and kissed her forehead. "Just finishing this project." "Sleep well, my love." She smiled faintly, pulling the duvet over herself. Within minutes, her breathing grew soft and steady. I turned back to my laptop, typing away, the glow of the screen lighting the room. Every few minutes, I'd glance at her peaceful face and smile. Hours passed. Around 5 a.m., I finished my work and stretched. The room was quiet, too quiet. "Rose," I whispered, standing up. No answer. I touched her hand. It was cold. "Rose." I called again, shaking her gently. Still nothing. Panic surged through me. I checked for a pulse, nothing. My hands trembled as I called her name over and over, shaking her harder, begging her to wake up. But she didn't. In that moment, the world around me collapsed. My laptop fell to the floor, the screen shattering as I screamed her name. The woman who once gave me everything, love, faith, hope, was gone, silently, peacefully, in her sleep. And I was left staring at her lifeless body, the echo of her laughter still ringing in my heart. The night tasted metallic in my mouth. Rain had come earlier and left the roads shining like black glass. The city hummed with distant horns and the low, indifferent throb of generators. I sat in the driver's seat of my white Mercedes C300 with the engine idling, the dashboard lights painting my hands an anxious blue. My mind riffed through impossible plans, childish, desperate, dangerous. Each one had the same drumbeat: move her, hide her, explain it away. I imagined the newspaper headlines. I had wrapped her carefully, clumsily, a blanket, put her in my car's boot. When I closed the trunk, the boot swallowed our secret with a soft thud. The Mercedes smelled of leather and air freshener and the faint tang of my haste. I thought of taking streets with fewer lights, of avoiding the places where policemen like to stand in groups, of the faces of men I might meet and the questions they would ask. Fear mocked me. "You've survived worse," it said. Fear also told me I was utterly naive. It wasn't long before blue lights cut through the rearview like cold knives. My heart vaulted against my ribs as if trying to flee on its own. I pulled over because there is nowhere else to put the truth when it arrives. 2 officers approached, their boots ticking on wet asphalt. The taller one wore a face that had seen too many mornings, the shorter had a mouth that smiled without warmth. "Evening, sir. Why are you out so late?" the taller one asked, polite but clipped. I began, the word sticking. I said the first thing that came, the one I'd rehearsed in 1,000 panicked breaths: laundry. "I'm taking some clothes to the man who does my washing." They exchanged a look, the kind that shrinks your bones. "Open the boot," the shorter one said. "We'll just check." My stomach went hollow. In my head I could hear Rose again, soft and patient. "Andrew, don't make a scene. Don't do anything stupid." I fumbled for my wallet, tried to find the small wad of cash in my coat pocket and lift it toward them like an offering, a stupid, desperate bribe, the kind of bribery that felt less like escape and more like bargaining with conscience. They refused the money with a sharp shake of the head. "Open the boot," the taller man repeated. I thought about running. I pictured myself tearing down the street with headlights snaking past, the boot closing behind me like some final coward's act. But my legs, traitors, held. I felt the weight of her hand on my memory, the way she had smoothed my hair once when I'd been a boy and scraped my knee. Running felt like erasing that touch. When the officer's gloved hand released the latch, it sounded like a verdict. The boot creaked open and the world folded inward, the fluorescent beam of a torch, the damp of the plastic, the face of the woman I loved, pale and turned away from the light. For a freeze-thin instant the officers looked at me, then one of them reached in and pulled the sheet back. Silence widened until it filled every space. 100 small sounds collapsed, the patter of distant rain, the weak buzz of a neon sign, the soft, impossible rustle of the plastic. The taller officer's jaw moved once, twice, then his hand struck my cheek so fast it felt like a memory of thunder. Pain flared, hot and immediate. My head snapped to the side. I tasted blood and shame and something older, heavier, the knowledge that there would be no undoing. They slapped cuffs around my wrists, cold metal kissing skin that had never known such restraint. Each click of the chain felt like a punctuation mark condemning a life I had tried to rewrite. I wanted to scream explanations that would dissolve into nothing. "She's my love, she's gone, I didn't know," but sound folded into the rain and was borne away. As they led me to the patrol van, hands on my elbows like anchors, people watched from windows and doorways, silhouettes frozen in the glow. A distant dog barked. The torchlight glinted off the leather of my car. In the boot beneath that bright beam, Rose's face was still and honest as ever, accused only of being mortal when I needed her to be otherwise. Inside the van, my mind didn't slow. It raced through possible defenses and impossible regrets. I thought of the years she'd stood by me, of the science books she'd smuggled for me when we were teenagers, of the jam money she once sent. I thought of my cowardice, my betrayals, the nights I let other women and other dangers pull me away. Each memory was a small stone in my stomach. They drove off. The city blurred into sheets of light and rain, and every mile felt like an accounting. I pressed my forehead to the cool window and watched streets I had once walked with Rose slip past. I was not thinking of escape anymore. I was thinking of the shape of the life that had led to this van, to these cuffs. I was thinking, at the end of everything, of the sound of her laugh, of the way she had once told me, in the mango tree behind the school, that she believed in me. The cell was cold, the kind of cold that crept into your bones and stayed there. I sat on the bare floor, my hands trembling, my mind running in circles I couldn't stop. It had been 2 nights since they locked me up. Every creak of the gate sounded like the end. I hadn't eaten. I couldn't. All I could see was Rose's face, still, peaceful, gone. Then I heard my name. "Andrew, your parents are here." My legs almost gave way as I stood. When they walked in, I felt something break inside me. My mother's eyes were swollen from crying. My father's voice shook as he said my name, my son. I couldn't look at them. Shame sat heavy on my tongue. Mama, Papa, my voice cracked. It was an accident. I swear before God, I didn't kill her. She came to see me, she slept, and never woke up. I panicked. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. My mother held the bars and wept loudly, calling my name again and again. My son, who will believe our story now? My father stood silent, tears running down his face, his fists clenched as if he could hold back the world. Later that evening, I heard that they went to Chief Clinton's house, Rose's father. They went to beg, to plead, to fall on their knees. I heard Chief Clinton didn't even let them sit. His voice was like thunder. Your son will pay with his life. He took my daughter, the only flower of my house. Let him die. I heard Papa try to hold his feet, crying, begging, please, Chief. Let it be life imprisonment. Don't take his life. But Chief Clinton pulled his leg away and shouted, you raised a murderer, now you'll bury one. The words burned through me when Mama told me. I could hear her voice breaking as she said, we tried, my son. We tried everything. I wanted to die already, not from the guns, but from the guilt. The day of judgment came. The court was full. I could see Chief Clinton sitting tall, his face hard as stone. His wife hid her tears behind dark glasses. My parents sat at the back, holding each other like they were afraid to breathe. The judge read the sentence slowly, his voice echoing through the room. Andrew Johnson, you are hereby sentenced to death by firing squad. Mama screamed. Papa shouted, no, no, he's innocent. They ran toward me, but the police held them back. Mama fell to her knees, begging the judge, please, Your Honor, mercy, life imprisonment, please. No one listened. Not even Chief Clinton turned his head. When they led me out of the court, I could still hear Mama's voice echoing behind me. Please, don't kill my son. Please, he didn't mean it. Her cries tore at me more than the chains around my wrists. The morning they came for me, I was calm. Maybe I had cried out all the fear. My parents were outside, kneeling, begging the officers, clutching their legs. Please, let us see him one last time. The soldiers let them in. Mama's hands trembled as she touched my face. My boy, you'll always be my child, she whispered. Papa couldn't speak. He just placed his hand on my shoulder and nodded, his lips shaking. They took me to the field. The sky was too bright, too peaceful for death. I looked at the guns and then at my parents, still crying, still begging. I smiled at them one last time. Mama, Papa, I said softly, don't cry. I love you both. I'm sorry I had to go this way. The order was given. The world slowed. The sound came sharp, final, unforgiving. The last thing I heard before everything went dark was my mother's voice screaming my name, Andrew. And in that cry, I knew she had died with me. If you ever find yourself in a situation like Andrew's, scared, confused, and trapped in a mistake that's bigger than you, don't let fear guide your actions. Stop, breathe, and call for help immediately. Tell the truth from the beginning, no matter how bad it looks. Fear makes you hide things that honesty could have fixed. Don't face such a storm alone. Call your parents, your lawyer, or someone you trust. Running or covering up only deepens the wound. And if you truly didn't mean for something terrible to happen, own your part in it with humility. Truth may not erase pain, but it can save a life, maybe even yours. Like and share this story to your family and friends. Subscribe to my channel for more interesting stories. Thank you. Bye for now.